The three brothers, Liam, Noah, and Ethan, had always been close, but life had pulled them in different directions. Liam, the eldest, was a pragmatic engineer living in Berlin. Noah, the middle brother, was a free-spirited artist based in Paris. Ethan, the youngest, was a university student in London, studying literature. When they received the news that their grandmother, Margaret, had fallen ill, they decided to reunite at her secluded countryside home in the English countryside. It had been years since they had all been together under one roof. The house was an old, sprawling Victorian mansion, surrounded by dense woods and a sense of isolation that was both comforting and eerie. Margaret, a widow for over 2 decades, had lived alone since their grandfather's passing. The brothers arrived on a chilly autumn evening, the wind whispering through the trees as if warning them of what was to come. Grandmother Margaret greeted them with a warm but weary smile. She seemed frilier than they remembered, her once vibrant eyes now clouded with age and something else, something they couldn't quite place. After a quiet dinner, she retired to her room early, leaving the brothers to settle in. The brothers decided to share the large guest room on the second floor, just as they had done as children. The room was spacious, with 2 beds and a couch, but the air felt heavy, as if the walls were holding secrets. They laughed and reminisced, trying to ignore the unease that lingered in the back of their minds. It was past midnight when the first sound came, a faint creak, like a door slowly opening. Liam, who had been reading, looked up. "Did you hear that?" he asked. Noah, sketching by the window, shrugged. "Old houses make noises. It's probably just the wind." But then came another sound, a low, guttural whisper that seemed to come from the hallway. Ethan, who had been half asleep on the couch, sat up abruptly. "What the hell was that?" The brothers exchanged uneasy glances. Liam grabbed a flashlight and opened the door to the hallway. The corridor was dark, the only light coming from the moon filtering through the windows. The whispering stopped, but the air felt colder, as if something unseen was watching them. Over the next few days, the strange occurrences grew more frequent. Doors would slam shut on their own, even though there were no drafts. Footsteps echoed in empty hallways, and the whispering returned, louder and more insistent. The brothers tried to rationalize it. Old plumbing, the wind, their imagination, but deep down, they knew something was wrong. One evening, as they sat in the living room, the grandfather clock in the corner suddenly chimed, even though it hadn't worked in years. The sound was deafening, and the brothers froze. The clock's hands spun wildly before stopping at 3:33. The room grew icy, and a shadow flickered in the corner of their vision. Noah, usually the skeptic, was the first to speak. "This isn't normal. There's something in this house." Determined to uncover the truth, the brothers began to investigate the house's history. They found an old journal in the attic, belonging to their great-grandfather, Charles. The entries spoke of a tragic event, a young maid who had died under mysterious circumstances in the house over a century ago. Charles had written about strange occurrences after her death, including whispers and cold spots, but he had never found an explanation. As they delved deeper, they discovered that the maid, a woman named Eliza, had been accused of theft and had taken her own life in the very room the brothers were staying in. Her spirit, it seemed, had never left. The brothers decided to confront the spirit. Using a combination of research and intuition, they performed a makeshift seance in the guest room. The air grew heavy, and the temperature dropped as they called out to Eliza. At first, there was silence. Then, the whispers returned, louder and more frantic. The room erupted into chaos. The lights flickered, the windows rattled, and the shadowy figure of a woman appeared in the corner. Her face was twisted in anguish, and her voice echoed through the room. "I didn't steal it. I didn't." Liam, trembling but determined, spoke. "Eliza, we know you're here. We want to help you. Tell us what happened." The spirit's form wavered, and the whispers turned into a mournful cry. "They blamed me. I was innocent. Let me rest." The brothers realized that Eliza's spirit was trapped, unable to move on because of the injustice she had suffered. They decided to hold a small ceremony to honor her memory and acknowledge her innocence. They lit candles, read passages from the journal, and spoke words of peace. As they finished, the room grew still. The whispers faded, and the air warmed. The shadowy figure of Eliza appeared one last time, her face calm and serene. She nodded to the brothers before vanishing into the ether. The house was quiet after that. The oppressive atmosphere lifted. The brothers stayed for the remainder of the week, helping their grandmother recover and sharing stories of their lives. Though they never spoke of Eliza again, they knew they had done something important, something that had brought peace to both the living and the dead. As they left the house, the wind whispered through the trees once more, but this time it felt like a gentle farewell.